Okay, so I'm excited to share with you today a nonfiction book about Virginia Lee Burton. And it's got plenty of imagination in it, so it's not going to be boring, I promise. But it gives us an idea of how she invented her characters and where they came from. On the cover, this is Virginia Lee Burton, and these are her two boys, Michael and Eris. And I believe that's Michael. We'll see when we open up the book. This book was written by Sherry Dusky Rinker. It was illustrated by John Rocco. The subtitle is How Mike Mulligan's Steam Shovel and Friends Came to Life. And on the cover, you can see the characters that we've been reading about. There's Mary Ann and Choo-Choo and Katy. And we didn't get to read this one. This is Maybelle. She's a streetcar, which is kind of like, just like in Kansas City, if you've ridden the streetcar downtown around Union Station or the city market, that's what a streetcar is. This one just looks a little more old-fashioned. Basically, it's just a one car train that you can take from place to place in the city. Rides on the city streets. And I don't have that book, and I looked on YouTube for a recording of it, and I didn't find one. So, well, maybe once the libraries open back up, we can all get a copy and read it. But for now, we will learn about these other characters. So on the end papers here, a lot of times end papers give you an idea of what a story is about. Oh, and the little house. We read that book. And around the little house are all the different machines. And what are these? These are the cogs in the machinery. These things spin around and make other ones spin around when they're connected. That's what makes a machine go. Big Machines, the story of Virginia Lee Burton by Sherry Dusky Rinker, illustrated by John Rocco. This is Virginia Lee, but everyone in Seaside Folly Cove simply calls her Ginny. Anyone who meets Ginny will tell you she is quite magical. She makes things grow in an enchanted garden. She talks to the chickens and the sheep, even little Pip Mouse, and of course they share all their secrets. And everyone who knows Ginny will tell you she can fly. She was a very good dancer. She studied dance as much as she studied art. But of all the very special things about Ginny, perhaps the most amazing about her is what she creates with her very magical wands. What are they talking about? What are the magic wands? They're art supplies, right? With a few taps of a wand, Ginny creates animals. She can also make the seasons change and conjure heroes and horses and people of all sorts, and even a very good dinosaur. But for her sons, Eris and Michael, she makes the most wonderful things of all, the things they love best, big machines. It begins with a line, black and rough, then a squiggle and a rub. As little Eris watches, a puff of smoke appears, clears, and then, whoo! A whistle cries. Do more, do more, Eris shouts in return. So yes, the one in the striped shirt is Eris. Ah, look at Choo-Choo coming to life. So Ginny draws and draws. It's a train, I see a train, says Eris. With each sweep, Choo-Choo comes more to life. She zips and zooms down the tracks. Choo-Choo rings her bell and with Ginny's magic begins to tell the story of the time that she escaped. To Eris's delight, Choo-Choo chugs off to exciting, even dangerous adventures. But of course, in the end, she always comes home safely. Because they went and rescued her, right? She was helpless to save herself. Michael, watching big trucks hard at work, digging and building, constantly moving, and so Ginny watches trucks too. She observes patiently, closely, and she begins. So here's Michael, and what do you see down here? Marianne. First the lines, this time layered and sketchy, then the circles, then the brush bursts of red, a rumble of power before dirt flies. And right before Michael's eyes, a bucket loads and lifts, clearing earth to make canals, cutting through mountains for railways, leveling land for highways and runways, digging deep into the earth, making foundations. Marianne do all those things, didn't we? Smoke blows from her stack, there, loud and proud, strong and steely, always hard at work, Marianne, a steam shovel. Michael jumps with joy. Now Michael has a truck to call his very own. Michael and Marianne smile at each other. Friends forever. And soon more big machines burst to life. Who's this? That's right, Katy. First there is just paper, white. Ginny touches it and pop! With a whoosh of black and some strokes of red and green, Eris and Michael meet Katy. Katy is a beautiful, bright crawler tractor. She can roll on her thick black treads. She can push with a bulldozer blade attached. And best of all, Katy can plow. The city of Geopolis is buried in a giant winter storm, and the people are counting on Katy. She is the only one big and strong enough to clear the way. Katy is rough, tough, and ready to plow the miles and piles of snow. No amount of snow can stop her. Follow me, she says, as she revs, and with a chug, 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 Katy is off to dig out the town of Geopolis, while Eris and Michael cheer her on. Ginny makes more lines, this time wavy and curvy, swoopy and swervy, like music lines flow along. Color joins in, free and watery. Ting, ting. And soon, ting, 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 there is Maybelle, the cable car, climbing up and down the giant hills of San Francisco. Our day's not done, it's just begun, she sings, while Eris and Michael wave, clingety-clang. Maybelle rolls away to do the job she loves. Clingety-clang, more ting, 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 more onomatopoeia. Next, Ginny makes a little house, pink and smiling, surrounded by apple trees on a hill covered with daisies. That doesn't seem like our kind of story, say the boys, pouting. Don't worry, says Ginny, as she keeps working. Suddenly, before their eyes, Marianne is there. Then cars appear racing along, tractors and trolley cars, and there a tow truck pulls a car with a flat. These are all pictures from the book. Remember, there's Marianne was helping out too. Trains and buses, even a subway. Big construction vehicles roll in, smoky and strong, hauling heavy loads. Ginny draws and draws. Roads, buildings, traffic, people, all in a hurry. It is much too much. Skies darken. The little house sags, and Eris and Michael are worried. Are they starting to get into the story? No. And then, just like that, the little pink house is saved by a truck. The boys jump up. That truck is the hero. A truck saved the day. Ginny smiles to herself. Well, of course, they see it that way. Who do you think the hero is in the Little House story? Choo-Choo and Marianne, Katy, Maybelle, and all the trucks around the little house. Big, powerful heroes, hard-working and happy, and each special and wonderful, just like Ginny. And that is how, here in Folly Cove, Ginny's big machines and their stories come to life, quite magically. For Eris and Michael, and for you. So there are all the books we read. The Little House, Choo-Choo. The cover of this Choo-Choo is an older edition. Our Choo-Choo was yellow. And there's Maybelle the cable car, Katy, and of course, Mike and Marianne. And at the end of the book, we have some real photographs. There's a picture of Ginny dancing. When she went to art school, she was born in Massachusetts. Remember, we talked a lot about Massachusetts. That's where the Pilgrims landed. But she was born in 1909, so she was about 300 years after the Pilgrims. But then she spent her life her childhood in California, and that's where she went to art school in San Francisco, and she had to travel a long way to the art school by train, ferry boat, and cable car. And while she was traveling, she would draw pictures of the other passengers. So there's people, you can tell they're sitting on a cable car. He's standing up, holding on to the thing up in the ceiling that you can stand and hold on to so you don't fall. There's people on the bench. I'm not sure what he's doing. Then they moved to, when she got married, well, she moved back to the East Coast and joined a dance troupe, so there she is dancing, and she worked for a newspaper, and her job was to quickly draw and illustrate theater performances, dance recitals, and music concerts. Because she had done all this practice as an art student on her commute to school, she was good at doing that, so she did a good job for the newspaper. And then in 1931, she married George Demetrios, and he was an artist also. He was a sculptor and an art teacher. And they moved to Folly Cove, and that's where this book kept talking about Folly Cove, where she lived. And there they had their two sons, Michael and Eris. She made this picture for a calendar. Let me get it closer to the camera. It says June. It's Folly Cove depicted in a calendar illustrated by her. And there's a tree, and you can see houses and people having a picnic. So that's a pretty drawing, isn't it? Here she is as a teenager sketching in her notebook. And there she is drawing in her studio. She also started a group called the Folly Cove Designers, and it looks like there are women. I don't think there's any men in the picture. And they are just called a design group, which specialized in block printing on fabric. So that's interesting. But her boys, Michael and Eris, are the ones that inspired her to write the children's books. And here they are with a goat in Folly Cove. And in Folly Cove, they had big gardens, and they raised sheep, and they did their artwork. Sounds like a kind of an ideal life, doesn't it? Inspired by her life and her boys, Ginny decided to write children's books. She wrote Choo-Choo for her son Eris, and Mike Mulligan and his steam shovel for her son Michael. And then she wrote a few other books too. And The Little House is the only one mentioned that gets the Caldecott Award. And you can see that down here. The Caldecott Medal is a very prestigious award given to picture books. And I'm not sure what year she got that. Folly Cove was in Massachusetts, and the Caldecott Medal for Little House was 1943. I hope you enjoyed this. I did.